Alright guys, so this week we will be completing part 2 of this scrappy quilt. So last week, as you would remember, this is what that clip is about, is that I had some problems missing some fabric. And I also made a few little changes which I will proceed to explain in the next slide. The pattern will be linked down below, and do remember that I will be watching this with you. So it will be on Saturday my time, but Friday your time. So please take some time out just to say hello, tell me where you're watching from, and tell me how you're actually enjoying the actual presentation of the quilt. I'd love to hear your feedback, as I always value you guys. So let me know how I did. Like and subscribe for more. Please share the video out. It so much helps the channel grow, and it so much helps the viewing of the quilts. All right guys, so bye for now. I'll see you in the next one. Love you loads, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you. Leave your feedback for me in the description box. And as I said before, the pattern is there. So let's get watching. Thanks for watching with me, guys. You are my premier squad. Definitely you are. Bye. All right, so I have managed to find some fabric. However, it is not the same cream. It's a little bit lighter. You can see the difference there, and it's thin as well, which is not a huge problem. I'm not fussed about it being thin. It is what it is. It's it's a scrap quilt, so I'm just using up everything that I possibly can, as you would. So it's on the end here, and there's a couple of it on this side here, which is where I was short, as I showed you. Nevertheless, I'm going to continue with it and see what it turns out like. Now, it looks all right. I'm happy with the overall presentation of it. However, I've also changed out the 3 purple, dark purple that I had. I felt it just didn't gel well with the whole complementary factor of the quilt. So I've added this here. I didn't want to go back and make a strip set, so I went ahead and just used these with stripes on it. Don't know why I decided to cut it on the slant, but it is what it is. I may just change it and do like this again. I'm not sure. I'll see how I feel. I mean, it looks all right. It's not a big deal. I'm fussing over it. I'm getting fussy. Okay, so you're probably looking at this and wondering, well, how is she going to sew this now? Well, we're going to approach it as though we are sewing on point. That's it. As simple as that. All right. So let me show you where the rows have started, and that's the way you've got to look at it. So this is row 1 here, because this is your corner row. All right, so then this is row 2. However, row 2 consists of 3 of the diamonds, isn't it? Then the 3rd row consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 diamonds. So as the rows move up, so does the amount of diamonds, making your rows longer each time. So to sew this together, I would sew 1, 2, 3 first. I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. I will sew this first, and then I can add this on, because once you sew it on, you will have that straight edge, won't you? And you can just line it up. Okay. Do remember though that this is going to be trimmed all the way around. So don't worry about this extra bit here. Is going to be trimmed off, and don't worry, I would explain that. I'm jumping ahead. So that is the way I'm going to sew it together. So I'm going to sew it together from the point, moving all the way across to the next area down there. Okay, so that's how we're going to sew it together. All right, so I'm going to get started on that. I will show you the first, say, 2, 3 rows so that you get the idea. And I think once you see that, it will make sense to you, because we got to talk about lining up the points, etc. here. Okay, so we're going to sort all that out so that you comprehend. But I think it's a nice way to use up scraps, as long as you got the template. And you can work with it. It's a nice way. It gives off a nice presentation. You can change the background and use another color. I've only used cream because that is what I had. If I had a neutral color that was probably a light purple, I would have gone with that as well. I can guarantee you that's my daughter calling me. All right, I'll see you in a moment. Alright, so the next step is to add on the next row here. So the first row is attached, so remember I'm counting this individual diamond as my first row. Alright, this is my second row of 3. Remember we already discussed that the increments of the number of diamonds increases as you move along to the other point. So we have 3 here. So the next objective is to then add on these 2 diamonds to the end here. So I'm going to fold this over just like so and line it up the same way, ensuring that I have my 1/4 inch at the top there and 1/4 inch of this background diamond at the bottom here as well. Okay, and then I will sew that on there. Once it's done, then I will obviously fold it back into its rightful place. The other side, because we have the diamonds sticking out here, okay, we need to ensure that we remove this diamond so it's opened, right? And then you will take this one and you will fold it over like so, just like you've done the other side, ensuring that you have your 1/4 inch again at the top and at the bottom there, and then you will fold it over, and there you will have your first sort of 4 diamonds stitched together. And then you will start the same thing at each row as you go. So remember, you are folding over. It may look awkward to start. It may look, you know, as if you're doing something incorrect, but you're not. Okay, you just need to keep in mind that with each diamond you sew over, you must have your 1/4 inch sticking out at the top so that it ensures. But I'll do the second row just to ensure that you understand. So I'm going to sew this row, come back, present it to you, and then we discuss this very briefly. Then I will continue. Then the next I will show you the whole quilt. Then we will move forward as to how we're going to trim this up. When you're ready to sew, you need to collect all of your diamond cuts and lay them out in the formation that you want to sew them in. So I'm starting from this end down here, and I've lined it up so I know this, the first one goes on top of the strip diamond, and it's fold over front sides together and sew alongside there, okay, and vice versa at the other. So lay them out so that you don't get confused, because I'm guarantee you're going to get yourself tricked up. So lay the whole thing out as demonstrated before. Take each individual row, sit and sew at the same time. So let me show you how to start sewing them now. Alright, so taking your first diamond cut, your strip diamond cut and your background fabric, you're going to line them up like so, and you're going to fold them over. Remember, we discussed already making sure that we have the 1/4 inch at the top and the 1/4 inch at the bottom. So in this instance, you're looking for the 1/4 inch at the top for your background fabric, and the 1/4 inch at the bottom, you're looking for your actual diamond cut at the bottom there, okay? So we're going to line it up and simply just stitch. I'm going to turn it upside down just because that makes sense to do so. And sew. And just making sure that you hold it right to the end. Okay. That's fine. So we're going to fold it over. So this is your first, this is your second. You're going to do the same. So again, you slide it down and you take your next cut. Make sure you line it up and check that it's aligned correctly, and you flip over. Now, one of the things I want to highlight to you is, because remember these diamond cuts here, they're most likely going to be biased, because at the end of the day, excuse me, they were cut into strips and then they were cut into this diamond shape. So they are going to be a little bit biased, a little bit stretchy. Same with this one as well. But what you can do is check the other side to make sure that it's not as stretchy, or you have actually cut on a straight grain. And if you think you found a straight grain, then line it up. Now notice that there is wrong here. So you need to make sure that you turn it the right way. So just check which side is the straight grain here, and then you simply just fold over and continue. Now, just to be reminded that you will start with a background fabric and you will end with a background fabric. That's important. So if you're ending with a strip diamond cut, immediately you should know that you've missed one somewhere, or you're missing one to the end, or something's gone wrong. Also bear in mind that you can see the diamond cut here, and it may look a bit awkward, but that is correct, because remember, we are sewing at an angle like so. Okay. And it's a 1/4 inch all the way down. Not a scant 1/4 inch, just a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to continue that, and then I will show you the whole layout together. I'll make the quilt up, and then we'll consider how we need to trim all of the edges. The next step is to sew all of the rows together. So as it looks on the table here, they are all individuals, okay? So this is a row here, and moving forward to the rest of them. However, these here I've already stitched together, but I wanted to demonstrate the process of that before I move further. Now, I know it can look very confusing because there's lots of points to meet, and notice I said meet, not match up. We're not aiming here to get perfect points. This is not what it's about. All right, this is a scrap quilt, and ideally you will still get it, because I'm not really lining it up and making sure it's perfect, but for some strange reason it's falling together nicely, and I guess because it's a diamond cut, so it will fit in nicely. All right, what I need you though, the most important thing is to take heat off when you laying out the rows, or you joining the rows together, is to make sure that the edge of your diamond cut, yeah, so that point where it makes a different turn, all of the rows line up together like so. So you need to fit all of the rows together, and I'm just separating so that you see what I'm talking about. So these rows here needs to meet, because this is where we're going to cut. So once you have that point in the diamond cut that meets there, that's where you need to make sure that each of it starts so that it will automatically line up. Now, ideally, remember I just said that it's no big deal if it doesn't line up or the points doesn't meet. I know some of you are very point orientated, okay? What I want to say though, because this is very much bias, you need to ensure that it lines up. If it doesn't line up, it's fine. Because of the bias, you have an automatic stretch that would allow you to stretch it in place. So I'm just going to zoom in so you can see what I'm actually referring to. So for example, let's talk about this one here. So as you can see, when I said I need you to ensure that everything is lined up together, I'm literally referring to the end here. Okay, so those ends must meet there, because that's the tip of where we're actually going to cut all the way to square up the whole quilt. So once these 2 points meet here, and I am referring to the point in which it makes that base for the triangle. So you're going to ensure that it meets there, it meets there, it meets there, and because of the bias, it will join relatively easy. So fold it over, find your point, and you pin. Yes, you're gonna have to pin this one. All right, I know normally I don't pin on this channel, but this one, it's a pinner. Okay, so pin everywhere where you see that point meets. And remember I said about it, so it's going to look like that. It's going to look a bit, oh God, what is that? You're going to be all stressed about it, but no, it's right. All you need to do is just make sure it crisscrosses at the same intersection. Okay, so don't get hung up on it. And automatically it should meet without any issues as shown, okay? So if you want to find a marker, because I like to give people somewhere where they can focus on, you can see there where the 1/4 inch seam sticking out actually meets. Can you see that there? So you can see both, and I don't want to come too close because the camera goes out of focus. So you see both of them there, and if you fold it together, you can actually see where it meets. So that gives you a good indication that your cuts were correct. Everything is lining up as it should. All right, so your points should meet there, and you really shouldn't have an issue. So just go all the way down and pin. Okay, now what I also want you to take heed of, and I don't want you to panic, is to think, oh my God, this is incorrect. Have I missed one somewhere? Why is it long and short? No, you're right. You're on the right track. It's supposed to look like that. Okay, that is where it ends. And it will all make sense once I cut it and make it into a square quilt. All right, guys, so that is where we're at. So that is what it should look like. And I'm going to zoom back out. Well, probably not. Probably you can see good there. That is what it should look like once you have literally stitched it all together. Well, sorry, pin it all together. All right. So I'm going to sew this, and I'm going to continue with all of this so that you can see what it looks like. All right, let's finish up.
Navigated the treacherous terrain with the skill of a seasoned hunter, his eyes constantly scanning the surroundings for any sign of danger. At times, the group had to crawl on their hands and knees to avoid detection, the dank earth clinging to their skin and clothes. As they pressed deeper into the jungle, the sounds of the bandit camp faded behind them, replaced by the eerie stillness of the forest. Ajani knew that every step took them closer to safety, but he also understood the risks that lay ahead. The jungle was a harsh and unforgiving place, filled with hidden dangers that could strike at any moment. Back at the camp, Nandidi's rage boiled over as he realized the extent of the deception. His captives had vanished, and the sounds of commotion from the jungle's edge told him that his men were under attack. The bandit leader's eyes narrowed, his mind racing as he pieced together the events that had unfolded. This had happened because they were busily partying over their previous victory and were overdrunk, causing them to lose focus. So they were caught off guard by the cunning plot of Kelechi and Ajani. Ndidi felt that something was not right. His sharp vision penetrated the darkness and deceit.
All right, so once you've ironed the whole quilt top, it's important to do that after you've stitched it all together. Now, what I wanted to just make notice to you is the edges of the quilt top. So all of the edges is going to look like this, with the excess of the diamond just hanging. All right, now if you wanted to make the quilt longer, you can, because obviously the excess here indicates that there's further room in order for you to join further rows, to continue to rows to make it longer. So you will have that on all four sides. So this is the side here, this is the top of the quilt, this is the other side here also, and just to make sure you understand, that's the bottom. All right, so it's going to be like that all over the quilt. Now what we need to do is to simply just line up our ruler and cut it straight. And so we will then have a perfect square, or in this case a rectangle, to then add 2, 3, 4, how many borders you want to add to enlarge the quilt, because theoretically that is what borders do to quilt. They make them bigger. They also give the objective of the main focus of the quilt so that you can see, you know, your border sort of focuses your eyes on the design of the quilt itself. So if you wanted to add 2 or 3 borders, you can. All right, so that is what I'm going to do now. Now, as I was sewing this together, I decided that I needed some more. I missed one of these light, the background diamond, and you would not believe this, guys. Remember, I didn't have enough and I had to use the lighter background color. Well, I went down into my fabric box and I found more of the actual one that I can use. So I need this color and I end up using this color, but nevertheless, it is what it is. At this time I was almost finished sewing the whole quilt up together, so I wasn't going to unpick all these lighter boxes or lighter diamonds. So it's going to stay as it is. All right, I mean, ideally it's not that different, to be honest. So we're going to cut it straight, I'm going to show you that because that's important in order to get it right so you don't cut off the points. So I'm going to show you that, and then we're going to talk about borders on the quilt. In fact, we don't even have to talk about it. You can just add 1 or 2 borders, as I said, and you will baste and quilt as normal. So that is the idea here. All right. So let's get this cut. I'll add some borders, and then the next time you see the quilt, it will be completed. All right. So our next step is to trim off the excess hair. Remember when I've referred to them as triangles? So that is what I meant. I meant because I'm going to cut the diamond in half, I am going to have triangles basically. So which will enable the quilt to be squared off properly. All right, so we're going to do this all the way around. So even on the side here, and I'm going to raise the camera up so you can see what I'm referring to. So going all the way up, so going all the way up, we will do the same thing. We will align the ruler on this side, and then you would have a wider triangle, if that makes sense. Okay, so all the way up and literally just square it off using the same idea of not cutting your points off. All right, so going back to this side here, so all we need to do basically is to line up the ruler. I will do it right in between where it actually crosses. So right in between where it crosses there is where I'm going to place the ruler and cut. All right, the reason why I'm going there is because I'm giving myself a little bit more than a 1/4 inch. So if yours only have a 1/4 inch, that's fine because it's not going to cut it off. So if you cut it right in between where it actually forms the diamond point there, you will be cutting off that point, and it would look cut off and blunt. So what I am doing is just literally cutting off or trimming where it actually meets. All right, hope that makes sense. So I'm just using that as my marker, as my guide all the way down. Now, if it doesn't line up there for all of them, that's fine. It's not a problem. Okay. The objective here is that the line is straight, the cut line is straight, and once you add your border on, you then are not able to lose your points where your diamond meets. Okay, so that is what it looks like when I remove. Okay, so you see that beautiful straight cut there? So that literally squares up your whole quilt without any issues. So I'm going to continue with that, and then yeah, and then I'll do the borders and show you the full quilt.
With concern and curiosity, Ajani wasted no time in delivering his dire warning. He spoke of Ndi's impending attack, his words painting a vivid picture of the bandit leader's wrath and the danger that loomed on the horizon. He recounted the escape of their loved ones as well, all made possible by his son, Kelechi. The villagers listened in stunned silence, their eyes wide with fear as they grasped the gravity of the situation. They knew all too well the strength of Ndidi's forces, and the thought of facing them head-on sent a chill down their spines. The village erupted into a frenzy of activity. Doors slammed, shouts filled the air, and torches flickered to life as warriors grabbed their spears and mothers clutched their children close. The knowledge of Ndidi's impending attack hung over them like a storm cloud, threatening to burst at any moment. Back in the jungle, Kelechi stepped from the shadows to face Ndidi alone in a clearing away from the camp. His figure was lit by the soft glow of moonlight filtering through the trees. Kelechi confronted Ndidi, his heart pounding in his chest as he revealed himself as the mastermind behind the distraction. The bandit leader's eyes narrowed, a flicker of recognition crossing his features as he took in the sight of the young man before him. "Oh, so it's you, the monkey boy," Ndidi sneered, his words dripping with disdain. Kelechi stood tall, his gaze unwavering as he met Ndidi's mocking stare. "My name is Kelechi," he replied, his voice steady and firm. As the tension between them crackled like electricity, Kelechi tried to appeal to Ndidi's better nature. He spoke of the possibility of change, of leaving behind the life of violence and cruelty and returning home to make amends. With a mixture of fear and determination, he drew upon the wisdom instilled in him by Uzoma and the experiences that had shaped his life. With a steadying breath, he began to speak, his words carrying the weight of his struggles and the hope for a better future. "Ndidi, I know the pain you've endured," Kelechi said, his voice soft but firm. "I too have felt the sting of rejection, the cruelty of being cast out by those who should have loved and protected me." Ndidi's eyes narrowed, but he remained silent, allowing Kelechi to continue. "When Udo village sent me into the wilderness, I thought my life was over. I believed I was cursed, that I would never find acceptance or happiness." Kelechi's voice wavered, the memories of his exile still raw and painful. "But I discovered something in the depths of my despair, Ndidi. I found the strength to turn the evil that had been done to me into something good. I learned to embrace my differences, to use my unique gifts to help others." Kelechi's words hung in the air, the sincerity in his voice palpable. Ndidi's expression remained stoic, but there was a flicker of something in his eyes, a hint of recognition, perhaps even a glimmer of understanding. "You have the power to do the same, Ndidi." Kelechi pressed on, his voice growing stronger with each word. "You can choose to let go of the anger and the pain, to return home and make amends. Imagine the peace that could come from mending the differences between you and the village, the happiness that could flourish if we all learned to accept and embrace one another." Tears glistened in Kelechi's eyes as he spoke, the emotion of his words washing over him. He could see the conflict in his face, the battle between the hardened bandit and the wounded soul beneath. "Pretty words, monkey boy," Ndidi sneered, his voice dripping with contempt as he took a step closer to the young man. "You
Okay, okay. Now this is serious stuff, guys. This is serious stuff when it comes to making a scrap quilt. Now you're gonna hear the crows in the background making a noise. I think they're telling me that the quilt is, yeah, Karen, you got this one locked down, literally. So that's what they're saying. All right. This quilt measures 60 inches squared and it's blooming beautiful. Look at the quilting on this. It did take some time to do that. So let's go through it very quickly. So as you remembered, I made these with a strip piece. This was cut just from plain fabric and I used background. If you notice, in all of the ordinary or the background or the print with the strip piecing, I just used swirls. On the background, I did feather motifs. Some of them I mixed, as you can see here. This is a beautiful quilt. Now, if you ever wondered why is it that people use scraps, this is a reason to start using your scraps if you have not made a scrap quilt. This is what you call a free quilt. It is absolutely beautiful. It really, really is. Stunning piece of work that anyone can make. Very simple instructions to follow. There is a pattern for you to download if you'd like to make this, as well as the template attached with the pattern. I use a floral border, not too big. I kept it very minimal. If I had time, I probably would have added 2 borders to it. Well, if you notice as well, one of the reasons why I included this small border here is because I wanted to transition the color onto here. I did not want to just leave this area here with nothing and simply just have it like that. I didn't want to have just this colored border onto the patchwork because I wanted for the viewer to have a rest with their eyes. But not only that, just that cream background transitions into the border so that it gives it a more cohesive look. I think sometimes when you just add the bigger border onto the patchwork themselves, it's just too much, depending on what the actual pattern is. This is lovely, guys. I will urge you to definitely go ahead and make one of these. The quilting, as I said, did take some time to make this, and as you know, I had some problems whereby I didn't have enough fabric. I literally had to empty every scrap bin to find some more fabric, which I did, luckily. Also remember, yeah, those birds are a bit annoying today. That's a cocky, very loud bird. If you could remember, I also use a very lighter fabric, and if you're standing back, you wouldn't be able to tell. I will have to point it out for you, and let me do so. There's one right in front of me here, as you can see. If I zoom in, there's another one here. There's a big one there. But because the color is just so close and the quilting takes over, because when you look at the quilt, what you're looking at is the quilting. You're going to see the diamonds, but you're going to be like, wow, look at the quilting on this. And this sometimes is where the actual price of a quilt comes in, especially when it's a lot of quilting like this. As you can see, I use a gray thread, a dark gray thread to be that, because I didn't have a light color. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it. This turned out beautifully. In some of the diamond cuts, I use not a strip piece, but any other scrap. But the thing is, again, if I didn't point that out to you, you would not have noticed it. So this was just a scrap piece that I focused the diamond cut on and just cut it out. And you can do that. You don't have to make a strip piece, okay? Or you can just use an ordinary fabric to do it. You don't even have to make a scrap quilt. You can use fat quarters for this one. However, whatever you decide to use, make sure that your diamond cuts are high contrast, your background cuts are low contrast, because we want to make sure we can see it, isn't it? If we use high contrast for all of them, the diamond cuts are going to be lost. You can also mix it all up. You can also use one fabric and one background color and just have a two-tone quilt. There's so many options that you can make this quilt your own and use your imagination and creativity and run wild with it. You can even do straight line quilting. Again, that's going to look beautiful. You can do wavy lines as well. Absolutely gorgeous. And one of the reasons why the quilting shows up so much is because of the background. That cream really stands out. It draws you in. So guys, I hope this video has given you some value. If you found that it has, it's given you some ideas, ways where you can be a bit more brave with your quilting, brave with your fabric cuts, brave with your scraps and don't feel that you have to stay to one particular color, I will encourage you to give me a like and subscribe, and please share the video around. It costs you nothing to do so. So please buy the pattern. It supports the channel. It really does, because everything I make, it comes back into the channel to help you guys and to give you ideas whereby you can definitely make your own quilts. Again, I want to give a shout out to my members. Guys, thank you so much for joining the channel. Your support helps so much, knowing that there are 6 people who just really wants to follow me. And you know, it's amazing. So if anybody out there want to support the channel by becoming a member, you simply get your patterns free and you get first viewing of the videos, and you get to give me a shout out whenever you want to. So I hope, as I said, this is giving you some value. But before we go, let me turn the quilt over so that you can see what it looks like. So on the back, I use a patchwork fabric, and again, this really helps to show off the quilting. And again, I use grey quilting of grey cotton thread on the back, which really shows it off really beautifully. You can see everything on it. I really enjoyed making this. As much as it did take some time to get it all done, it was a pleasure to make this quilt. So bye for now. Happy quilting. I hope I've inspired you to be creative and to just go for it. Don't be afraid. You can do it. I believe in you. Bye for now. Happy quilting. See you in the next one, guys. Love you so much. Bye.